Hi, I'm Mia from Pom Pom Squad, and this is Consequence.
Hey guys, I'm Gab Ginsberg. I'm the managing editor of Consequence, and I'm here with Mia from Pom Pom Squad, our June Artist of the Month. Hey.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
So take me through the sort of Pom Pom Squad origin story.
I started Pom Pom Squad when I was in high school, and kind of just like let it be a hobby for a while. It was very casual. I actually moved to New York to study acting, which I very quickly hated. Kind of just like fell into playing live over my first 2 years of college and fell in love with it and started a band.
I wanted to ask about that because I know you spent time in Florida and then moved to New York, and you've sort of bopped around to a bunch of different schools. So
Yeah.
What is sort of like that timeline? Like, when did you start playing music, and then when did you know that you could do it for real?
Yeah, I started playing music. I've been singing for a long time. You know, I think I started in my mind, I've been singing like my whole life, but I found out recently that my parents never heard me sing until I was like 12. So apparently I was very private about it.
You're just a secret star.
It was like a secret thing. Well, I think I feel embarrassed. It's like funny because I perform, but I like actually am very embarrassed and like nervous about performing a lot of the time. So I sang and I played guitar, kind of like alone in my room. I like bullied an adult male camp counselor into teaching me how to play guitar. It's a fun story.
Love bullying men.
Yeah, love bullying adult men as like a 13-year-old girl. But yeah, that's how I learned to play guitar, and then just started messing around in GarageBand. But I think it kind of turned around for me. I released a version of the song Lux, which is also the first single on our new album, Death of a Cheerleader. And it got played on satellite radio, kind of like coincidentally. It was very strange, and people really liked it. And I think that was my first time sort of realizing that people could like what I do.
For sure. That's amazing. So, and then I know you started to come up on the live scene in New York, you know, playing shows around the city. That's like a really tough scene to break into. So what are sort of your early or even recent memories of just kind of breaking into that and getting that experience?
There were a couple guys from my school who like listened to my Bandcamp and liked it and were like, well, you know, we'd love to produce some stuff for you. And they sort of had this bit, because usually when you're starting out in Brooklyn, it's like 4-band bills. So they were like 3 bands, all the same members, and they would just kind of like switch around. So people would think they were hiring, you know, 4 bands, and it would just be like 4 dudes like switching places. But yeah, I mean, they needed a first for a couple moments, and they were kind of like, do you want to start playing live? And I loved it. I think the first venue I ever played was Bowery Electric.
Nice.
And people were really nice. I feel like I just kind of hopped into this stage persona. I had no idea who I was, but I was very extra, and yeah, it was great. I feel like my early experience is just kind of like a lot of self-discovery and picking up the skill that I just had no idea that I could do.
And it's also a fascinating sort of experience to find your onstage persona just by being on stage.
Yeah.
And just like learning it kind of well by doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of like all clicked into place. It's very magical.
It's awesome. So I want to obviously talk about the album a bit. So we've got so much on here. We've got, you know, modern grunge, we've got punk, we've got pop. I would not ever like call it one genre, but clearly all of these influences and these sounds are there. I would love to know first your influences, and then if you have thoughts on just like when you sit down to write music, do you think about what kind of song you want to make, or does it sort of just all mash together based on what you're into?
What am I into? I'm influenced by when I started playing first, I was really influenced by Riot Grrrl. That was kind of my like gateway into punk, and then into grunge and into indie rock and kind of DIY music. So my kind of like patron saints are Courtney Love, and I always tend to go back to Kathleen Hanna. Who else? I mean, I'm also just like, I love pop music.
Yes.
Who have I been very into? The Ariana Grande album, Positions, very good. Very, very good album.
Do you have sort of this is a basic question, but do you have a love child on the album, a favorite song or something that is important to you?
Yeah, I feel like I also did not answer your last question at all.
I forgot what it was.
It's
so
okay. It was about genre, and if I sit down to if I think about genre and when I write, and the answer is like not really. I think with this record in particular, I was just kind of playing around with a couple different influences that stuck with me over quarantine. So I think my typical mode is like punk and grunge. But I was listening to a lot of Motown during the pandemic and a lot of like jazz standards, and I just loved the kind of like fantasy element of that genre and how it doesn't really feel grounded in reality or grounded in a physical space.
For sure.
So that also leads into the next question, which is my favorite song on the record. It's a song called Be Good. It's the final track, and it just kind of like pushes that to the furthest extent I think I ever have. Just kind of like really taking myself out of the grunge genre to make something really pretty and floaty and cinematic.
Kind of leads into my next question, which is,
wow.
Despite all the genres we just talked about, what sort of sound do you want to make more of? Or did you discover anything while making this album that you're like, oh, my next album or project might sound like this?
What did I discover? I mean, I don't know. I think I am really leaning into my affinity for pop music and kind of like playing around with electronic drums and just kind of, I think the thing that I learned on this album the most is just what else I can pull out of my tool belt, and I didn't think I had the ability to make arrangements like I did on this record, and so I think I'm just excited to push that even more.
That's sick. You also mentioned quarantine. Was the album written entirely over quarantine?
Not entirely.
Some of it's older, right, that you incorporated?
The oldest song on there is from when I was 16 or 17, I think.
So 2 years ago.
Yeah, literally 2 years ago. The song Lux I wrote when I was in high school, and I think the second oldest I wrote like right around the time I wrote my first EP, which exists, which still is on the internet. You
can buy it on the internet.
You can find it on the internet. Should you? I don't know, but yeah, I wrote it around that time, which was like in the early, probably the first year of Pom Pom Squad as a live project. But the rest were written, at home.
It's safe to say that the album was finished and recorded mostly over the pandemic.
Yes.
So what made this kind of the right time? Because I know you had wrapped up in the fall and then you've sort of held it till now. So what made this the right time to release?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been wanting to do a full length for a while. What made it the right time? I think, I don't know. I think it kind of got to a really nice place and we all felt ready to share it and ready to, give it its own creative world and space.
So you've got a couple of live dates coming up.
Yes. We're going on tour Philly this summer, which is really exciting. And then we are going on tour not so fall. And we have a local show we're going to be
Hometown show. I won't ask too many specific questions then about what you want your live show. Well, you could tell me your dreams and fantasies about what you'd love it to look like, even if you don't know what it looks like yet.
And if I could just like fully go,
budget's not an option.
Yeah, no budget, no, practical appliance here. I want a choir, string section.
Oh, yeah.
I want like a whole thing. That was extremely articulate of me.
I love that. That was really specific.
Yeah, I want like crazy like sets and props and visuals and choreography. I want to go full pop star.
I know a lot of people have said, Pom Pom is like music to cry to and, do with that what you will. But I love that you actually wrote a song called Crying. Like, I love that you could just have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah. Where would I be without a sense of humor? Probably dead. That was like oddly serious. I'm so sorry. I like expect there to be a laugh track, but there's not. It's just me. What was I talking about? Oh, crying. Duh. So yeah, I mean, it was fun to approach that song kind of from like a self-deprecating but in a fun way place. Also, yeah, just that the very literal having a song called Crying moment was, fun.
I like it. It's very pointed.
You.
And you also got sort of an early cosign from Tegan and Sarah, which is so cool. And Tegan Quinn ended up singing backing vocals on the lead single from this album. So how did that kind of come together?
Yeah, we met on Twitter. There was a conversation about racial equity that was happening last March, and I posted a little note of some things that I was thinking about at the time, and Tegan shared it. And when I saw that, I was super excited. I saw Tegan and Sarah for the first time when I was probably a freshman in high school, and then another time when I was like a junior in high school. So it was very surreal. And I think when I saw that, I was like, how far can I push this? So I DM'd, and then I was like, can we FaceTime? And we ended up talking on the phone. She's so lovely and just so generous with her time and her talent.
Absolutely. You really did push that, I think, as far as it could go.
I really did. I was like, I'm just going to see how far this can go before she stops answering me.
It's a fantastic song, so I'm really glad it worked out in that way. Talk to me about some of the other collaborators on the album.
We got to work with Sarah Tudzin from Illuminati Hotties, and Sarah is just amazing. She's got such a vast tool belt of skills. So working with her was really special, and I think for me, getting to co-produce with her was a huge honor. We worked a little bit on the pre-production together, and then just kind of hopped in the studio, and we have a lot of the same interests. Just in terms of, we were talking a lot about like Phil Spector and the Wall of Sound and the Beach Boys. So it was just great. It felt like a really easy collaboration, and I felt like we agreed on a lot for the most part.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did your sort of production skills come about? Were you like pretty self-taught, or when did you realize that you wanted that to be part of your artistry as well?
Yeah, I actually went to school for production.
Okay.
So I did a program at NYU for music history, production engineering, musicianship, and something else that I'm forgetting. But it was a very multifaceted major, and I really learned a lot. I'm really grateful for the ability to have gone through a program like that. And that really started after I did the first EP for Pom Pom Squad called Hate It Here. It was really hard initially working with people and not having the language to articulate what I wanted out of a song. I think, being a music fan my whole life, you kind of know what sounds you like, or, how you want a vocal to sound, what kind of, instruments you want. But I think production is kind of its own language in a lot of ways. And I just hated the feeling of, trying to get somebody to understand and not being able to, and then, not really being happy with the final product. So
yeah. I mean, just for your own power and autonomy, it's like not, there's a long, terrible tradition of like, as a woman in a band or in music, it's like people explaining to you how tech works, or like how instruments work, or how your music should work. And just being able to, as you say, have the language to articulate that just puts you way ahead of the game, and to be in a position to really get what you want and have people like take you seriously, as they should.
Yes, they should.
For sure. So I wanted to ask a bit about the sports aesthetic, which is still very much here in these music videos for the new record. And I know you've like worn that like on stage. So I completely understand like it's you, subverting that whole stereotype. But I want to know like what it means to you and where you see that kind of going.
When I was living in Orlando, Florida specifically, I went to a high school that was very jocks and cheerleaders and nerds and, extremely John Hughes movie realness. And, being a person of color and being so young and being queer, like not really seeing any lane for myself was super isolating and really difficult. So I think Cheerleaders kind of arose for me as this powerful feminine figure that I admired and that I strived to be and that I was attracted to. And, it was just like such a figure in my life for a while. And I think the Americana aesthetic of the Cheerleader also like creates all these crazy expectations. Like the amount of times in the first year of Pom Pom Squad where people would come up to me after a show and be like, oh, I expected to hate you because of the name and because I was dressed as a cheerleader. It's like, interesting. You know what I mean? So it was kind of, I don't know, it was empowering in a way to like put on the bitch costume and be the bitch, you know, finally get to be like that girl. So I think it's kind of like my drag persona.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sorry I did see your tweet about wanting to be the different movie cheerleaders. I'm sorry we couldn't make that happen, but I hope it happens.
I'm honestly very
angry. This is the PSA.
You really should have done that. I'm just kidding. This is gonna be like the YouTube compilation of like Mia Berrin being a bitch.
I would just love to see it myself, so that's why I wanted
to see it as well. I thought it was a very good idea. I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, they went a little bit there in the Thank You Next video for Ariana Grande, and
they did.
But I think we deserve an entire parade of famous cheerleaders.
I'm talking full editorial.
Yeah,
that's where we're going.
Oh my god, I love it. My other favorite Pom Pom fact is that you grabbed the social media handles at, I want to say 15. Is that a true story?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a long game. I like it.
It has been. I don't know why. I don't know what possessed me. I think like being in a band, I think also when I discovered Riot Girl, you know, like being in a non-men band was such a cool and not like, it was just like, wow, you can do that, you know? And I started to kind of talk to girls at my school and be like, does anyone play anything? And initially I wanted to have a band called the Lisbon Girls after the Sisters and the Virgin Suicides, but the one girl who played bass in the entire school said it sounded too much like the Lesbian Girls, and so she vetoed and didn't want to be in the band. So the Lesbian Girls, dead. It's done.
The Lesbian Girls.
The Lesbian Girls, done.
Is that handle up for grabs if anybody wants
it? It's going to be like a 4-man band called the Lesbian Girls.
100%. The handle is taken.
The handle is taken by a 15-year-old. But yeah, when I came up with the name Pom Pom Squad, I don't know why. I didn't really think I didn't know off the top of my head that I would turn it into something or know for sure that I would. But yeah, I was just like, I'm just going to take all the social media.
That's incredible.
And I got so many messages being like, I have no idea why you have, like, how you got that.
Just like
the long game.
A golden handle that, it's
like
a long
those
con.
People that buy web domains, like, in hopes that they'll be worth $1 million in a couple years. That was me.
You'll sell Pom Pom Squad to, like, the Dallas Cowboys or something for, like, $15 million.
That would be great. That's the only way I'll give up my band name.
I love it. I think we pretty much covered it. Anything else in the pipeline that you've got going on that you want to mention? Or
I'm just super excited about the record. I'm really, really excited to, you know, go on tour in the near future. So, welcome back to the world, everybody.
Welcome back.